The government has brought in measures that the NDP has asked for, including in this budget, yet you're not committing to vote in favor of it at this point. You keep threatening to pull your support for the government, but then you continue to support it. So at this point, is this an empty threat?
That was CBC?
CBC.
Oh my goodness, even they're getting upset.
Welcome back to Northern Perspective, everyone. I'm Cypher.
And I'm Fox. Jagmeet probably thought that he could give the same old empty threats that he's used to, and people would use them as headlines. However, he's learning very fast that absolutely nobody is putting up with it. He's been called out by Vashi Kapelos, he's been called out by the Conservatives, and he's been called out by the Bloc. Now he's being called out by seemingly every single reporter that he talks to.
Let's take a look.
We will now go to Marina with CBC. Please go ahead.
Hi there. Will the NDP support the federal budget? Yes or no?
We've not made that decision yet, and we've raised a number of concerns. We've said that there's things that we fought for that are in the budget that are good for people, that'll help reduce costs, things like the protection fund for renters, the school food nutrition program, pharmacare, which is going to lower the cost for families. So those are things that are very positive that we fought for that will lower costs. But we raised concerns, and with Benita beside me, one of the concerns we both raised is the fact that the disability benefit is only $200 a month, far too low. So we've got to hear from the Prime Minister and the Liberals on what their response is to our concerns before we make a decision.
As you mentioned, the government has brought in measures that the NDP has asked for, including in this budget, yet you're not committing to vote in favor of it at this point. You keep threatening to pull your support for the government, but then you continue to support it. So at this point, is this an empty threat?
Wow.
Whoa. Ladies and gentlemen.
That was CBC?
CBC.
Oh my goodness, even they're getting upset.
Yeah, they're not having it.
No.
Well, because this is what he keeps saying. Like, Jagmeet, you are so transparent. Here's the problem with crying wolf, everybody, is that at some point, nobody believes you anymore. Like, you're going to say, oh, well, we're going to go and talk to Trudeau, and then they're going to come back, oh, well, he was able to address our stuff, so, I guess we're going to vote for... Like...
And he doesn't realize that every time he does that, he doesn't come out the hero, he comes out the villain. His poll numbers keep sliding down and down and down.
Well, and the problem is he's so dumb, and, like, I'm sorry, but he is, because 2 minutes before that, he goes on this tirade of Pierre Poilievre wants to take this away from Linda, and he wants to block pharmacare, and we think that they deserve it, and we think she deserves it. We're going to fight for Linda. Okay, so let's just walk this through. If you vote against the budget, then you're voting against the lady beside you, which you said that you're going to stand with. Like, how much do you think people are taking this seriously, Jagmeet? Because when you just say that you're going to be supporting people like Linda, and then you say, well, we don't know if we're going to vote for the budget that is actually going to enable that to happen. Like, it's terrible.
Well, I suppose he could be saying, because do you remember after they had kind of inked this deal, quote unquote deal with the pharmacare, that he was like, well, we need more NDP to get this done. He could be using it as an election platform item.
But the problem is if they vote down the budget, then the budget is done, the government's done, and the legislation is dead in the water.
Yeah, but then they can win, and they can be the government, and they can make their own pharmacare, etc., etc. I don't know, like, this guy does nothing according to what I would consider political strategy, so there's really no reading him.
Well, and his media training is just awful.
It's atrocious. I have better media training.
Well, we said very clearly that unlike the Conservatives who just decided the way they're voting before looking at it, that we would look very clearly at the budget, we would reflect on it with our team, and we've raised some concerns. We've not heard yet a response to our concerns, and so we'll wait to hear that response before we give you a decision. But we're approaching this in a serious manner. We take what we fought for very seriously. These are very important things. Our concerns are also very serious. We want to hear a response before we make our decision.
Give me a break. They've like manufactured some concerns that are really important to them, so they can position themselves of like, oh, we went and gave Trudeau what for, and you know, he promised to address our concerns. So see, this is us holding the government to it. Like, nobody believes you. You're gonna go in, you're gonna have a drink with Trudeau, and then you're gonna come back out. That's what's gonna happen. Like, it is just ridiculous.
We will now go to Mickey with the Canadian Press. Please go ahead.
Will an NDP government keep the Liberals' carbon price plan to $170 per ton by 2030?
Well, what we said is on the carbon price, our position hasn't changed. We believe there's a price on pollution that should be there.
Will you keep it then? Will you keep that a carbon price plan to $170 per ton by 2030?
Well, so far what we said is that our position hasn't changed, but we are saying that the Liberals' plan is unfair, and there's elements of that plan that are very unfair. And I've outlined one specific element, which I think is glaring in how unfair it is. The Liberals think it's okay to give billions of dollars to oil and gas companies to subsidize them, particularly when they're highly profitable. They're making record profits. Why does that make any sense to continue to give them billions of dollars and then say to working people, we don't have any money for you to support you in trying to put in place a thermal pump or a heat pump in your home? That's unfair. And that type of approach is something that Canadians look at and say, well, that doesn't really feel like we're all fighting this climate crisis together. You're choosing big oil and gas over us. And so what we've said, our plan that we will put forward is one that is fair for working people, takes on the big polluters, and lowers our emissions.
Yeah, but you voted for it. This is the thing. You voted for it. Oh, well, the Liberals think, no. You voted for it. Like, this, Jagmeet, it's checkmate for you, buddy. You've screwed the pooch.
Yeah, it's all over. You should have called an election back when we said you should have called an election, because you'd have more seats than you do now. And guess what? It's boundary change day today. So you're getting even fewer seats than you would have had otherwise, just by how the map is being drawn.
Yeah. You've completely screwed yourself.
You missed the boat, dude.
Nobody believes you, and the criticisms that you're levying at the Liberals now for the carbon tax, because you're trying to jump on the Conservative bandwagon there, they don't make any sense, because you're blaming the Liberals for the carbon tax, yet you voted for the carbon tax. Like, you have completely screwed your position, guy.
I honestly think he has no idea what he's doing, and he's just up there floundering about, just running his mouth, trying to promise this and that and whatever makes him sound good, and has no idea what he's talking about.
You know, that's kind of what the Conservatives are campaigning on is, you know, put the responsibility more on heavy emitters.
Not at all. We're going.
Well, they have campaigned on that in the past, and they want to scrap the carbon price. We've heard Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives say they want to scrap the carbon price plan. We know where the Liberals stand on this, yet there's confusion over where the NDP stands on this. Why can't you give Canadians a clear answer of whether or not you support the carbon price and whether you do support it going to $170 per ton by 2030? This has been in place since 2019. We know the position of the Conservatives. We know the position of the Liberals. Why does there appear to be sudden backpedaling of this?
Love it. I absolutely love it.
And that was Canadian Press?
That was Canadian Press.
Amazing.
So you have Canadian Press, you have CBC. You know, these are the two media agencies that have been giving the most softballs to them and going after Pierre. So, you know, welcome to the party, everybody. Welcome to journalism, where you're holding every party account, not just the Conservatives. So yeah, any bets on whether he's going to say, so, you know, our position hasn't changed?
Like I said, he has no idea what he's talking about. He doesn't even know his own position, and he's up there just floundering about.
Yeah, I think the issue is that what they have actually realized is that they're in a very problematic position politically, and they don't know how to get out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, first of all, I think that we've got to be clear. The Conservatives' plan is no plan. They want to allow for big polluters to pollute as much as they want. They have no such plan to say they want to reduce pollution. They're saying to Canadians, you know, those big polluters that dump toxic waste in rivers, no price on that. Dump as much as you want. The big polluters that pollute our air, that pollute our land, our water, they can do whatever they want. So we should be very clear about what Poilievre is saying. He's saying pollute as much as you want, make as much profit as you want, and damage the environment, damage our planet, damage kids as much as you want. That's the conservative plan. And people can make a choice if they think that's okay, but that is actually their plan. Pollute as much as you want. The Liberals' plan is unfair. Now, the price on pollution is just one piece of taking on the climate crisis. If that is the entirety of the plan, then that is a colossal failure as well. There's much more to taking on the climate crisis than just the price on pollution. And we know that the Liberals have other elements to it, which are very abundantly unfair. And I pointed those out. Our position has not changed, we've said. We maintain that the price on pollution is important, but I've given you a very concrete example, and I've given Canadians a concrete example of how the Liberal plan is unfair. Why is it they have billions of dollars for oil and gas companies to subsidize them with our money for free for record profit-making companies, but they don't have money for Canadians to say, we want to install a heat pump? Imagine a way for Canadians to choose a heat pump that will help them make that right choice to lower their costs, to lower their emissions, and make life more affordable. That would have a significant impact on our fight against the climate crisis. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about the unfair approach of the Liberals. I support a price on pollution, but I do not support the Liberals' approach, which is unfair, which pits everyday Canadians on one side and big oil and gas companies on the other, and they choose big oil and gas. That is wrong.
He talked for about a minute there and still didn't answer the question. I support a price on pollution. Well, here's the thing. Conservatives supported a price on pollution in the past as well, as the reporter correctly laid out, which was a price on industry. It wasn't a consumer price. Now, Jagmeet has not said at all. He just, it's unfair for Canadians. So you could lean into, okay, so does that mean you don't support a consumer price on pollution then?
Well, and the thing I love is how Jagmeet keeps bringing up this thing about dumping toxic waste in rivers.
Right.
I still haven't been able to figure what that is. So if you guys know what that is, let us know in the comments, because I have no idea what it is. We've tried looking and
there's nothing.
Well, but Jagmeet keeps bringing it up. So either it happened, which I don't think so, or else I'd be able to find evidence of it, or he thinks in his head that it happened, or that the Conservatives will permit it. I don't know, but not laying out your climate plan, because again, the Conservatives are not going to lay out their entire platform. Number one, they're not in government, so they don't need to tell everybody what the solutions are that they have. And number two, it's not election time yet. They don't want to show their hand too early.
Well, and you could use the argument that the reason why Jagmeet isn't saying what their position is because, they don't want to lay out their plan as well. But the problem is they have voted for the carbon tax every single time, meaning they support that. And then it was within the last 2 weeks, all of a sudden, they're like, well, it's not the be all and end all. And everybody in Parliament and everybody across the media just turned their head and looked at him saying, what? What are you talking about? And then they said, well, our position hasn't changed. No, what you just said, that's a change. So what do you mean by that? Well, and they're trying to act like everybody else is stupid. You're the one who changed the position, but now you don't want to say it. Dumpster fire. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, in summary, I don't think Jagmeet even knows his party's position, and he's the leader.
I think maybe what happened is that, I wonder if this is what happened. Because, well, no, Jagmeet said it.
We are so having such difficulty reading this guy.
He's all over the place because he did this big long speech where he was like, the carbon tax isn't the be all and end all and everything like that. And everyone was like, what? Are you now against the carbon tax?
No, guys. No.
And now they won't say, right? So what it sounds like their position is going to be is that they want to put a price on industry and maybe hint at not putting it on Canadians. I think the issue is that they don't want to say that they would take the consumer carbon tax off because there's a a big swath of their tiny base that is very much environmentalists and fanatics. So they would have a problem with that.
I think they've dug themselves a hole so deep and they've tried to go in so many different directions that they're just spinning their wheels now. They have no idea what to do.
Yeah, and this is what happens when you have a poor leader.
This is what happens when you have no political strategy.
Yeah, well, the NDP can't afford one. That's the thing. They literally cannot afford one.
Heck, I'll do it for them for free if it gets us to the next election.
Yeah, here's my political strategy. Call an election right now.